Welcome to the League of Extraordinary Heroes video series, where we revel in design, fabrication, and play. This round we're going to joust with the Birail tools, lofting, and extrude on curve. Let's go check it out. This parchment asset you see is looking pretty good. It was built with the very methods I've mentioned prior. You can see we have a boundary tool as well. So we're going to use 1, 2, 3, and 4 curves that have been built in CV curve tools. And we're going to go to the boundary tool, and of course we're going to reset. We need to reset all of this and start from making sure that we have control points on. For this it seems to work well. We have this simple but already preformed shape that's ready to fit all the curves we've built up here. This turn of ripped parchment will be executed with a single Birail. That means it has one profile and 2 rails, much like a train car track. Okay, of course we're going to reset here. But for review, I'm building this curve so that you can understand how these were built, because we've gone over that many times before. So here we are. These curves have, I don't know, I think they have 9 knots in them, and then one span that has 5 knots in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. That's going to allow for us to make sure that we can span this Birail successfully. Both of these curves are originating from the base. You can tell from the little square control point at the beginning of everything. We're going to use the Birail 1, and we're resetting to make sure that that's in order. And we'll be using, let's use standard fit. Standard fit usually makes some weird extra edges, but so I usually try to use control points. That's what we used for the boundary tool. It seemed to work okay, but we select in order. That's the profile, and then the 2 tracks, the 2 rails. And here we have a nice turn, a flipped curly corner of the ancient parchment sheet. In order, of course, if I want to do a multi-cut or to span these together with the target weld, I've got to cut it up so that the edges match. So I'm just going to slice it a little bit here with the multi-cut tool. And then, of course, we have to combine these, right? Mesh combine, so they're all one. When you select it, you can see that when you go into edge mode, you can see both pieces are going to play together as we drag across with the target weld tool. It should merge everything very nicely. All right, now we have one complete. We have one completed corner. Of course, I'm putting it to 1 or 2 for. No, let's make that 3 for smooth proxy. Of course, that's not the real way it would render or print out. It's just to make sure to smooth this a lot later. But we want to build it as chunky as possible to keep things moving along smoothly. This one's an extrude edge. I'm just extruding the edge along the curve, and surprisingly it works. Having tried this prior, it didn't work because of reasons I don't know why. But this time, with a reset and I don't know, we'll put that on 8, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And a slight taper. But upon applying this, it works. It works really well. And that's just with one curve for extrusion. Now, of course, that's part of the parchment originally because it was it was extruded out of that polygon. Right, so there's a couple more we're going to do here. Looking at, I'm just admiring it here for a moment. It's good to have this coming to fruition, because I've had to wrap my head around how this might be done and be able to be demonstrated swiftly. These three curves is going to be my opportunity to show you how the Loft tool works. If you go to look at the curves, and of course I've coalesced. I'm going to have to coalesce them together so that they all move as a team as opposed to moving independently, because each one of these curves now has their own pivot. So in order to do that, I have to go and hit D for delta and go into pivot editing mode. I'm going to drag along the curve with a C for Charlie and middle mouse drag, and that should make a common pivot for all three right here. A little adjustment so it missized up and looks like it could become part of this parchment in short order. All of these curves truly in curve edit, in curve CV curve editing component mode, you're going to see all originate from the base. So they're all flowing the same direction. That's important. Now it's a matter of going to the Loft tool. Now the Loft tool works a little differently than the Birail and of course the Extrude on curve. You're going to have to invoke this after clearing everything and resetting it to default. You're going to want to use control points, but you're going to have to select the curves first, then hit apply. You should get a result that looks satisfactory. Now you'll see at the base, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. Now we're trying to put a 4-edged asset piece of geometry with a 1-edged asset. So we're going to combine them, and ultimately I'm getting rid of this extra edge here. I'm going to have to chop this up with the slice tool. They call it the multi-cut tool, but it slices like a laser blade, so you have to make sure to be in edge mode so we can make sure this all happens. Alright, so I'll be cutting. I'll just do make a V here, a triangle, and then slice that in the middle so that there's enough edges to accommodate this piece of parchment. 1, 2, 3, 4. But the only way you can put them together is you have to combine them, of course. Sometimes I get ahead of myself, for sure. So I'm gonna have to slice this another time. 2, 3. Because I deleted one edge. It's gonna allow this to happen. In merge, the merge tool. It looks good. Now this is an example of Birail 2. So we have a profile on the base of this form that's going to be a curled corner, a proper corner being rolled over. You have to do the prep, so I'm just checking that profile there at the bottom, and there's a profile hiding between the 2 points, where that becomes the point, and the 2 rails, of course, here. Birail 2, of course, we have to reset, always the best practice. Polygons and then control points. So here we go. We're going to apply before we do any clicking. We're going to click on the first profile, second, and then shift select. Excuse me. So shift select the both rails, and you should result a turned corner instantly. If it's working, it will happen very quickly. It doesn't have to sit and think for too long. Of course, we have to combine things. But I like to make sure it's lined up as much as possible. Of course, moving the pivots to facilitate a better rotation and get this thing looking as a cohesive form, so it seems natural and effortless. Got to do the combined here. We combine them. Now I still, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges, I have to cut this up with the multi-cut, with the multi-tool. I'm going to do 2 separate triangles here. Then you can merge them down to one triangle to make a best practices when you're reducing geometry. For a static mesh, this will be just fine. And of course, in smooth proxy, it's looking the part. But I have to now merge them or weld them together. Target weld them together. I'll do that with the edges. Yeah, I couldn't grab the 4th one, so I just did the last one, and it should inherently by course follow suit. There we have 4 turned corners. That's usually why these parchments look like that, because they've been folded and carried in pockets and satchels and adventure bags. The bent folded edges start to rip apart and therefore become curled. So there you have it. Parchment built out of boundary, birail, and lofting tools. Thank you.